Did you know that over half of working Brits today say they can't afford basic essentials, even with a full-time job? And get this, UK workers are clocking in longer hours than ever before, yet their pay, when adjusted for inflation, has barely budged in over a decade. In fact, real wages in the UK have flatlined since 2008, making it one of the worst wage growth records among developed nations. How is that even possible? You'd think working harder would mean living better, but for millions across the country, it's the exact opposite. From nurses skipping meals to warehouse workers juggling 2 or 3 jobs, the system seems stacked against everyday people. Why is it that the harder you work, the more you seem to fall behind? In this video, we're breaking down 10 brutally honest reasons why so many Brits are stuck in the grind, barely surviving while doing everything right. Stay with us, you need to hear this. Number 10. Zero-hour contracts. Zero-hour contracts might sound flexible on paper, but in reality, they've become one of the clearest signs of how unstable the UK job market has become. These contracts offer no guaranteed hours, which means no guaranteed income. One week, you could be working 40 hours. The next, just 5. For many workers, this unpredictable schedule makes it nearly impossible to budget for rent, food, or even transport. It's like being employed, but always living on the edge of unemployment. According to the Office for National Statistics, there are over 1 million people in the UK on zero-hour contracts today, and that number is growing. These contracts are especially common in retail, hospitality, and social care, sectors where wages are already low. The power imbalance is stark. Employers can cut your hours with no warning, and there's little a worker can do about it. The result? People are constantly hustling, saying yes to every shift they're offered out of fear they won't get another. It's not freedom, it's survival mode. And the worst part? These contracts have a hidden cost. Beyond the financial insecurity, they create mental and physical strain. How do you plan childcare when you don't know your hours? How do you take a second job, pursue training, or even just rest, when your entire work schedule changes every week? Many workers report feeling anxious and burnt out, not because they're lazy or unmotivated, but because the system keeps them off balance on purpose. It's a perfect example of how the modern job market has evolved, not to support workers, but to keep them available, flexible, and underpaid. Number 9. Real wage stagnation. It's one of the most frustrating realities for UK workers today. Your pay might be going up on paper, but your actual buying power is shrinking. This is what economists call real wage stagnation. While your salary might have increased a few £100s over the years, the cost of everything else, food, energy, transport, housing, has increased even faster. So, in real terms, you're earning less than you were a decade ago. The Bank of England has confirmed that real wages in the UK have barely grown since the 2008 financial crash. In fact, adjusted for inflation, many workers are earning less today than they were in 2007. And it's not just numbers, it's your life. A £30,000 salary today doesn't stretch like it used to. You feel it when you fill your tank, do your weekly shop, or open your energy bill. What used to be considered a decent middle-income wage now barely covers the basics. According to the Resolution Foundation, UK workers experienced one of the slowest wage recoveries in the developed world following the financial crisis. And the pandemic, followed by inflation surges, only made things worse. We're not just talking about temporary price hikes, we're talking about a decade-long erosion of earning power. This stagnation also creates a false sense of progress. Politicians and headlines may talk about rising wages, but without context, it's misleading. A £1,000 pay rise sounds great, until you realize inflation just cost you £2,000 more in annual expenses. It's a game of catch-up that workers can't seem to win. And when you add in rising rents, student loans, and childcare costs, the pressure becomes unbearable. People aren't living beyond their means, they're just not being paid enough to live at all. Number 8. Cost of living. The UK's cost of living has spiraled out of control, and for many, it's become the single biggest obstacle to financial stability. From sky-high rents to energy bills that have doubled in just a few years, everyday expenses are outpacing earnings at a shocking rate. According to the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, over 14 million people in the UK are now living in poverty, and that includes workers, not just the unemployed. The essentials, food, housing, fuel, have turned into luxuries for many households. Even people with steady jobs are forced to choose between heating and eating, between rent and transport. It's not just difficult, it's dehumanizing. Housing is one of the biggest pressures. In cities like London, Manchester, or Bristol, renters are spending more than 40% of their income on housing alone, far above the recommended 30% threshold. Home ownership is becoming a distant dream, especially for younger generations, with property prices rising far faster than wages. Meanwhile, social housing stock is limited, and wait lists are years long. The cost of energy has also skyrocketed, with some families now spending more on utilities than they do on food. It's no longer about budgeting better, it's about the system being broken. And here's the real danger. This high cost of living doesn't just eat into wages, it traps people in a cycle. When most of your income is spent just staying afloat, there's nothing left to invest in the future. No savings, no education, no cushion for emergencies. You can't afford to move, retrain, or even take a risk on a better job. The result? Millions of people are stuck, working harder than ever, but falling further behind. This isn't just a crisis of income. It's a crisis of opportunity, stability, and dignity. Number 7. Decline of union power. Once a powerful force for fair wages and better working conditions, trade unions in the UK have lost much of their influence over the past few decades, and it shows. In the 1970s, over half of all workers were union members. Today, it's less than a quarter. This dramatic fall isn't just a statistic, it's a major reason why wages have stagnated, especially in sectors like retail, hospitality, and care work. Without strong unions to collectively bargain, workers are often left negotiating their pay and rights as individuals, while employers hold most of the power. The consequences are visible everywhere. When workers don't have a collective voice, it becomes easier for employers to freeze wages, cut hours, and reduce benefits, without fear of pushback. Many workers today don't even realize they're entitled to things like sick pay or overtime rates, and without unions to educate and represent them, they're left vulnerable. According to the Trades Union Congress, TUC, unionized workplaces still earn, on average, 5% more than non-unionized ones, and have better job security and safer conditions. But as union density drops, so does the pressure on companies to treat workers fairly. What's more concerning is how union decline creates a culture of fear and silence. In non-unionized workplaces, speaking up about unfair treatment can feel like a career risk. People stay quiet, take on more work for the same pay, and hope things will get better. But without organized resistance, nothing changes. The fall of unions isn't just a labor issue, it's part of a broader erosion of worker power. And as that power weakens, the wage gap widens, and millions are left underpaid and unheard in an economy that depends on their labor to function. Number 6. Automation and job loss. Technology was supposed to make our lives easier, but for many workers in the UK, it's done the opposite. Automation and digital systems are replacing human jobs at an alarming rate, especially in industries like manufacturing, retail, and even banking. Self-checkout machines, online customer service bots, and AI-driven logistics have dramatically cut the need for human labor. While companies profit from faster and cheaper operations, workers are left scrambling for roles that are either low-paid or precarious. The result? A shrinking pool of decent-paying jobs and growing competition for whatever remains. According to a study by the Office for National Statistics, up to 1.5 million jobs in the UK are at high risk of automation, many of them previously held by working-class individuals. What's even more troubling is that the jobs replacing them are not better, they're often worse. Temporary contracts, gig work, and part-time hours are the new norm. The promise of reskilling sounds nice, but in practice, many people don't have access to affordable training, and those in their 40s or 50s face discrimination when trying to re-enter the job market in a new field. Automation hasn't lifted all boats, it's sunk quite a few. At the same time, employers use the threat of automation to justify low wages. The message is subtle but clear: take what we offer, or we'll find a machine that can do it cheaper. This mentality devalues human effort and erodes job dignity. For workers, it creates a constant fear of becoming obsolete, of being outpaced by a machine you can't compete with. Until policy catches up with technology, and investment is made in protecting human labor, automation will continue to deepen inequality, especially for those already struggling to keep up. Before we dive into the next reason, we want to hear from you. Have you felt the impact of low wages or insecure work firsthand? Drop your story in the comments below. And if you're finding this video eye-opening, please support our work by subscribing. It's just one click, but it means everything to us. Number 5. Gig economy and outsourcing. The rise of the gig economy was sold as a modern solution to old problems: freedom, flexibility, and being your own boss. But for many UK workers, the reality is far grimmer. From Uber drivers to food delivery riders and freelance cleaners, gig work often means low pay, no sick leave, no holiday pay, and zero job security. You're classified as self-employed, but in practice, you're still dependent on platforms and algorithms that control your workload and income. It's work without the rights, and for millions, it's become the only option in an economy that's outsourcing stability. At the same time, traditional employers are increasingly outsourcing jobs to third-party agencies or overseas, cutting costs by bypassing employment protections. Entire departments, from customer service to IT support, have been shifted abroad or handed over to private contractors, breaking the link between employer and employee. This strategy allows companies to dodge pension responsibilities, wage regulations, and union involvement. For the workers left behind, this means fewer full-time roles, more zero-hour contracts, and a growing reliance on unpredictable gig work to fill the gaps. The bigger issue is how this trend reshapes the job market. People aren't working less, they're working harder, often juggling multiple gigs just to scrape together a livable income. The line between personal time and work disappears when you're always waiting for the next booking, job alert, or client. Mental health suffers, physical exhaustion sets in, and there's no safety net if something goes wrong. This isn't a flexible future, it's an unstable one. And while corporations enjoy the savings, workers are paying the real cost: in stress, insecurity, and a constant fight to stay financially afloat. Number 4. Weak minimum wage policy. On paper, the UK's minimum wage seems like a safety net, designed to ensure no one who works full-time lives in poverty. But when you look closer, it becomes clear that the minimum wage simply isn't keeping up with the real cost of living. While the government raises it slightly each year, these increases often lag far behind inflation, housing costs, and energy bills. As a result, even full-time workers earning the legal minimum often find themselves struggling to cover basic necessities. According to the Living Wage Foundation, over 3.5 million UK workers earn below the real living wage, which is calculated based on actual living costs, not just political decisions. One of the biggest issues is that the national minimum wage is a one-size-fits-all number. But the UK is far from one-size-fits-all. Living in London, for example, is dramatically more expensive than in other parts of the country. Yet the minimum wage remains the same across the board. While some employers voluntarily pay the higher London living wage, most don't. This leaves workers, especially in high-cost urban areas, perpetually short, forced to take on multiple jobs, cut corners on food and heating, or rely on credit just to make it through the month. It's not just unfair, it's unsustainable. The lack of enforcement is another major flaw. Many low-paid workers don't even realize they're being underpaid, and employers know the system is too weak to catch them. Inspections are rare, penalties are light, and workers are often too scared to speak out. Until the UK adopts a more aggressive and regionally sensitive approach to setting and enforcing minimum wages, one that reflects real-life expenses rather than arbitrary targets, the promise of fair pay for fair work will remain just that: a promise, not a reality. Number 3. Corporate profits over pay. It's one of the most frustrating contradictions in today's economy. Major UK companies are making record profits, yet their employees are barely getting by. From supermarkets to energy giants, We've seen CEO bonuses climb into the millions while frontline staff struggle to afford their commute. In 2023 alone, several FTSE 100 companies posted historic profit margins, even as inflation hit working households hard. The wealth is clearly there, but it's not being shared. The problem isn't a lack of money. It's a lack of willingness to pay fair wages to the people who actually keep these companies running. The current model favors shareholders and executives over the workforce. When profits go up, the rewards are usually funneled into dividends, stock buybacks, or executive compensation, not pay raises for regular employees. This isn't just an ethical issue, it's an economic one. When workers have less spending power, the broader economy suffers. Consumer demand drops, financial stress rises, and inequality grows. And yet, many corporations still treat wages as a cost to be cut, not an investment in productivity and morale. It's a short-term mindset with long-term consequences. What's worse is that workers are constantly told to be grateful just to have a job, even when those jobs barely cover the basics. The reality is, employees are generating massive value, but they're receiving a shrinking piece of the pie. It's not about unrealistic expectations or wanting luxury. It's about being paid enough to live with dignity. Until corporate policy shifts from maximizing profit at all costs to recognizing and rewarding the human labor behind those profits, UK workers will remain trapped in a cycle of hard work and low pay. The system isn't broken by accident. It's functioning exactly as it was designed to. Number 2. Disappearing middle-class jobs. For decades, middle-class jobs were the backbone of the UK economy. Stable, well-paying roles in industries like manufacturing, administration, public service, and technical trades. But over the last 20 years, those jobs have slowly been hollowed out, leaving a growing divide between high-paid specialists at the top and low-paid service workers at the bottom. Automation, global outsourcing, and austerity-driven public sector cuts have all played a role in this shift. As a result, millions of workers who once had access to upward mobility are now stuck in lower-paying, less secure positions with limited prospects for advancement. This decline has hit particularly hard in towns and regions that once relied on industry or public services for employment. Where someone might have once worked in a mid-level civil service role or managed a local manufacturing line, those opportunities have either been replaced with entry-level service jobs or eliminated altogether. Supermarket tills, call centers, delivery services, these are the roles that have taken their place. And while work is still available, the status, income, and long-term potential of that work have dropped dramatically. What used to be a career is now just a job, often without pensions, stability, or a clear future. The knock-on effect is a shrinking middle class and a widening gap between the working poor and the wealthy elite. People who once felt economically secure are now one unexpected bill away from crisis. Education and effort no longer guarantee success in the way they once did, and many young people entering the workforce are finding that even with a degree, they're earning less than their parents did at the same age. Without meaningful investment in skills, regional development, and new industries, this trend will only continue, leaving more workers caught in a low-pay, no-growth trap. Number 1. Lack of skills investment. At the heart of the UK's wage crisis is a long-standing failure to invest in skills and lifelong learning. In a fast-changing job market, where automation and global competition are rewriting the rules, workers need constant upskilling just to keep up. But the reality is, adult education budgets have been slashed, apprenticeships have declined in quality, and many people simply don't have access to the training they need to move into better-paid roles. According to the Learning and Work Institute, the number of adults participating in learning in the UK has fallen to one of its lowest levels in 2 decades. That's not just a statistic, it's a warning sign. For workers in low-paid sectors, this lack of investment creates a trap. They want to progress but can't afford to take time off for unpaid training or cover the costs of private courses. Many don't even know what support exists, or they face long waiting lists and poor quality programs. Employers also share the blame. Many UK companies underinvest in staff training, especially for lower wage roles. Instead of nurturing talent, they treat workers as replaceable, offering little in the way of development or upward mobility. It's cheaper to recruit than to train, and that mindset leaves employees stuck in the same roles, year after year. This underinvestment doesn't just harm individual workers, it weakens the economy as a whole. Countries that prioritize training and reskilling tend to have higher wages, better productivity, and lower inequality. The UK, by contrast, is falling behind. If we want a future where hard work actually leads somewhere, we need a system that gives people the tools to grow. Until then, millions will remain in dead-end jobs, not because they lack ambition, but because the path forward has been blocked by years of neglect. The truth is, millions of hard-working people in the UK are not struggling because they're lazy, unskilled, or irresponsible. They're struggling because the system is rigged against them. From zero-hour contracts and real wage stagnation to rising living costs and disappearing career paths, it's clear that low pay isn't just a personal issue, it's a national crisis. These are not isolated problems. They're connected, systemic, and deeply rooted in how our economy has been shaped over the last few decades. And unless we talk about them openly, nothing will change. But awareness is the first step. The more we understand what's really going on, the more pressure we can put on the right people to act. That's why we made this video, not just to inform, but to start a conversation. Whether you're personally affected or just tired of seeing others struggle around you, your voice matters. Change won't come overnight, but it starts with people refusing to accept silence and struggle as normal. So now we want to hear from you. Which of these 10 reasons do you feel the most in your own life? What did we miss? Let's make the comments section a place where real stories are shared, and where solidarity begins. We pour countless hours into creating videos like this, researching, writing, and fact-checking to bring you the truth in a way that's clear and honest. If you found value in this video, please support us with just one click, subscribe to the channel. It means more than you know, and it helps us keep going. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.